All right, the state may call its next witness.
Judge, at this time, the state would call Kelsie Harris.
Affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
All right, the court will note the witness is now under oath. I do have a few questions before we start with the examination. Ms. Harris, have you viewed, watched online, or observed any of the trial testimony that's taken place since this case started?
No, I have not.
All right, have you talked to anyone else about the testimony they've given in trial?
No.
Okay. Mr. Wixom, you can proceed with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Kelsie Harris,
Will you please spell it for the reporter?
Kelsie Harris,
And where do you live?
Sugar City.
Is that here in Idaho?
Yes.
Ma'am, do you recall knowing a Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
I want to draw your attention back to October of 2019. Did you have any association or interaction with Ms. Daybell back then?
Yes.
What was that association?
She was a student in my clogging class in Sugar City, and she also worked at the school as a librarian. And at the time, I worked at the school as well.
What did you do at the school at the time?
I worked in the kitchen.
Did you have regular contact while at work with Ms. Daybell?
Yes, I saw her frequently.
How often during the course of a week or a day might you have contact?
Every day I would see her.
How would you generally describe your relationship with her?
We were friends. We would see each other at class, in my class and at the school, and have conversation more than just a hello.
Okay. And you mentioned a clogging class. For the sake of jurors or any of us who may not understand clogging, will you explain what that is?
So clogging is a fast-paced style of dance, and you wear clogging shoes that are similar to a tap shoe. It has 2 taps and it creates loud sounds and also different rhythm steps.
And did you say you attended the class with her or you teach the clogging class?
I was the instructor of the class.
To the best that you can you recall what time frame was it that Tammy was attending that class?
It was the end of August, early September until the time of her death in October 2019.
How often was the class held?
It was every week, a 60-minute class once a week.
Did she attend regularly?
Yes, every class.
How would you describe clogging overall? Would it be low intensity, medium intensity, high intensity? Where would you put it?
I would say medium intensity because you're still getting that cardio and getting your heart rate up.
And when students are in the class, do you have the opportunity to observe them?
Yes, I do.
How often do you recall being able to see Tammy in class while she was clogging?
The whole time I'm observing all of the students, making sure there's no falling behind, that they're able to keep up with the steps that I'm teaching. And so I am constantly watching the students that way.
From your recollection, do you ever recall her falling behind in class?
No,
Do you ever recall any issues with her getting tired?
no,
Any issues at all that you recall with her ability to perform the clogging and keep up with the class?
no.
Now, with respect to any other activities? Did you have any other activities that you were involved with, Tammy? In?
I did.
What were those?
So I attended a high fitness class in St. Anthony, and I stood right next to Tammy in that class, and that was my first time going. I was not the instructor at the time. I was just a participant, and I stood right next to Tammy in that class.
And for the jury's sake, will you just kind of elaborate, what did you do in high fitness class?
So high fitness class is very high intensity. You're doing burpees, a lot of jumping jacks, explosive movements to really get the heart rate up.
And you said you were standing next to her in class.
Yes, I was.
How often was that class held?
2 times a week,
How long was each class?
60-minute class.
Did Tammy, as you recall, attend that regularly?
Yes.
What time frame do you recall attending that class with Tammy relative to her death?
It was about late September of 2019.
And what did you observe, if anything, about Tammy's performance in that class?
Nothing like, so I observed that she was able to keep up in that class and was doing those high intensity moves like the burpees and things like that. And she was able to keep up with that class as well.
And just as a comparison, how different was high fitness than clogging in terms of intensity?
So high fitness is very high intensity. Clogging is still that cardio workout, getting your heart rate up. But as far as like the up and down movements, clogging, we're still moving at a fast pace. And
Thank you. So just based upon your personal observations overall with what you saw in Tammy in those classes and the interactions at school, let me withdraw that and go back. With respect to your interactions at school and at work, did you have any occasion to observe anything that would give you clues about Tammy's health?
no,
So did you withdraw based upon what you observed in clogging and in high fitness? Did you ever see anything that would give you any questions or concerns about how healthy she was?
no,
Did you ever see anything about her struggling or not keeping up?
no, not at all.
Did she ever express any concerns about how she was feeling?
No,
And at these classes, did you talk to her regularly?
I did. Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Would you tell me, again, when did these clogging classes start?
It was the end of August, early September, and they ran every week. And that was the year 2019.
So it was once a week,
Yes,
and let's say you started in September. So there were a total of 5 classes that Tammy attended before she passed away. Would that be fair?
yeah, correct.
5 classes.
Yes,
Okay. And the same thing for the other activity, the high intensity. She only went to one of those though, right?
I could tell she went to more of those. I just attended the one class for my first time.
Well, you don't know whether she attended more. You only saw her at one of those high intensity classes. Isn't that true?
So yes, I did see her.
Okay.
And
Now, I don't want to disparage anybody, but would you describe Tammy's figure as being a body of someone who was extremely fit?
I would say she was a very fit woman.
You'd say she was a very fit woman. Okay.
I would.
Now, you know her daughter Emma, right?
Correct.
And her daughter Emma went to the one high intensity class with her as well, right?
Correct.
And that's the only time you saw Emma and Tammy at the high intensity class that one time, right?
So Emma was a participant as well in my clogging class.
And I'm going to get to that. Emma would stand with her mother at the back of the clogging class and participate in that as well in the very back of the room, right?
Right.
Right. And how many people were in this clogging class?
There were about 7 total.
Okay. And again, if I understand, the clogging classes were twice a week and about the same time, September until Tammy passed in October, right?
Correct. The clogging class was once a week.
Oh, the clogging was once a week? Oh, I'm sorry. I had it down for twice. It was only
The
once a
high
week.
fitness class was twice a week.
Oh, but the high fitness, you only saw her there once. The clogging, you saw her for all
Yes.
5 or 6 of the classes she attended that time, right?
Yes.
And her daughter Emma was there right next to her the whole time, correct?
Correct.
So if there were any issues, you're in the front of the class. If there were any issues with her mother, Emma would probably be the best judge of whether there were issues with her mother and her activity and participation level. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now you said you worked at the school. You worked in the cafeteria or the food service portion of the school.
Yes.
Tammy was a librarian. You also know that Emma was teaching at that school as well, right?
Right.
And it was frequent in her usual practice for Emma and her mother to get together every time they had an opportunity to do so, right?
Objection, Your Honor, that assumes facts, not evidence.
Stan,
Are you aware that whenever there was any free time during the school hours, that it was always Emma and her mother who would spend the majority of the time together?
Yes.
All right, nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
all right. Can you recross?
Just a couple of questions, if I may, Your Honor.
Very well. I'm sorry, redirect, Mr. Wixom.
Which may, Judge. Ma'am, just very quickly, regardless of the cross-examination.
Judge, I'm going to object.
That's argumentative
Fair enough.
question.
With respect to the questions that you were just asked, is there any doubt that you have in your assessment of watching Tammy in clogging class and her performance?
There's no doubt. No.
So you are confident in what you've told the
Asked and
jury?
answered.
Overruled.
You are confident in what you've told the jury about your personal observations about Tammy and how she performed?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any need to recall the witness from the state or the defense?
Not from the defense, Judge.
Not from the state, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That concludes your testimony in the trial. Thank you for appearing. You may go ahead and step down from the witness box. And you're released from any subpoena. All right, the state can call its next witness.
Judge, at this time, the state would call Shanna Miller.
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, the witness has been sworn. I'll just have a few questions before we begin with the examination. This trial, Ms. Miller, has been live streamed and publicly available for viewing. Have you observed or watched any of the trial testimony that's taken place?
No, I have not, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Have you discussed with anyone else their testimony they've given in the trial?
No, I have not.
All right, thank you for that affirmation. Mr. Wixom, you may proceed with direct.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Shanna Miller,
Will you spell it, please?
SHANNAMILLER.
And where do you live?
St. Anthony, Idaho.
And what do you do for work?
I have been retired for the last year and a half, but previous to that, I was a school teacher for 34 years,
What school did you teach at?
Central Elementary in Sugar City.
During your time teaching at Central Elementary, do you recall working with Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I do.
And did you become aware back in October of 2019 that she'd passed?
Yes.
Could you explain to the jury how often and in what way did you interact with Tammy at your work?
I was actually on the committee that interviewed Tammy for a job position at our school back in the spring of, I believe it was 2017. She was hired to be our computer specialist and our librarian. She also helped out with the lunch count, checking the kids in as they went to lunch. So I was her colleague after we hired her. I also attended a high fitness class in St. Anthony with her and her daughter twice a week.
And what was that high fitness class?
It's called High Fit. It's a high intensity workout that lasts an hour. It consists of burpees, jumping jacks, lunges, squats, planks, all set to music.
And how often did you attend that class?
At the time, I was attending twice a week.
Do you recall how often at the time, prior to her death, Tammy was attending the class?
Yes, she and her daughter started attending, I believe it was the spring of 2018, and they attended up until her death in October of 2019.
Were they regular attenders?
Yes,
When they came to class, did you have opportunity to interact with Tammy or observe how she was doing?
yes, I was on the back row, so all I needed to do was look over. Yeah, I had opportunity to observe them.
Would you feel like you had a good vantage point typically?
Yes.
What observations, if any, did you make about Tammy's performance in that class?
Well, it is a very rigorous exercise that's highly aerobic. And at first, it's hard for anyone that's not in great shape to be able to have the stamina and the strength to be able to complete it. And at first, they weren't able to complete all of the exercises are set to, songs. So they weren't maybe able to do all of the exercises completely correct or finish them, accordingly at first. But as time went on, I would say after the first, I don't know, several weeks, maybe a couple months, they were able to complete the workout.
With respect to, let's narrow it down to the last few months prior to Tammy's death,
Okay.
were there ever times that you saw Tammy lag behind?
No,
Did she ever stop or take breaks?
no,
Any indication to you that she wasn't keeping up in the class?
no,
Are you confident that based upon your interaction with her at the class and what you could see, that you would have observed that had she fallen back?
no.
You're not confident or?
Oh, sorry. Can you rephrase that question?
Sure.
That's long.
Any reason for you to think that you weren't able to have a good observation of Tammy and assess how she was doing?
Yes, I was able to, yes, I would be able to be confident and to say that, yes, I did.
And what about with work? I didn't ask. How often did you interact with Tammy at work?
I would see her probably, I would say every day, sometimes several times a day. When I took my kids to library, that was once a week. Computer lab was once a week, maybe twice a week. Can't remember for sure. And then every day as I took my kids into the lunchroom, she'd check the kids off as they came through the lunch line. I would see her then.
Based on observations at work, do you feel like you were able to make any observations about her health or fitness from what you saw at work?
I would say from the time that she started the fitness class, her confidence level in herself, I think her overall image of herself, I think it had improved. She looked like she was in great health and in great shape to me.
And in terms of observing her doing her daily duties at work, did you ever see her get tired or worn out?
No,
What was your reaction when you first learned of Tammy's death?
complete shock
Why is that?
because hours before that, I had seen her at work and she was happy, healthy, conversing with the kids as they, guess the last time I would have seen her would have been, when the kids were going through the lunch line, she was conversing with them, complimenting them, smiling. She seemed perfectly healthy to me.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wixom. Cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning.
So your testimony is that you first started with the interview process of Tammy in the spring of 2017. Is that right?
Mhm.
That means that she would have started her first year in the fall to start as her job as a librarian. Would that be fair?
Of 2017?
Of fall of 2017.
Yes, I
So-
believe that is correct.
Okay. You're not sure though. It could be 2018.
Well, if I did the math correctly, she had worked there she was in her second year of teaching. The second year would have been 2019 to 2020. So that would have been 2018 to 2019, the year that she started working. Yeah,
So 2018, right?
yes, it was
Yeah.
2000.
So when you say 2017, you really didn't know Tammy until the spring when you met her of 2018, correct?
I would have to do the math on that.
Okay.
Still not convinced.
Well, you know, she was in her second year of teaching at the school when she passed, right?
Mhm.
And in the first year of school, that's sort of a probationary period, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And in that probationary period is when they give you the basic benefits, the start benefits that you have to go through as part of your probation, things like life insurance and medical care and all of that. You're given that minimum plan. And then after the first year, that's when you choose to upgrade to add the additional life insurance and death benefits and all that other stuff, right?
Objection, Your Honor, this is outside the scope.
Overruled.
That's when that second year is when you start adding and increasing all of those additional benefits because you've put a year in as your probationary period, right? Ma'am?
I don't know.
Okay,
can't
well, you
answer
worked
that.
there.
Yes, I did for 34 years. That was a long time ago
Okay,
when I
so.
first
30
started working there.
So you're
But
not.
I didn't up my death benefit my second year.
Okay. You do, I'm sorry, you what?
I did not up my death benefit the second year that I
Okay.
taught.
But that's not an uncommon thing to up your death benefit in the second year after you get that eligibility, right?
I couldn't answer that.
Right. And you said 2017, but really it was 2018 when you first met her in the spring, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Okay. And we had a previous witness who talked about these high intensity classes. And you're telling me that these high intensity classes started when?
They started attending. When they started attending or when they started?
When they started?
The instructor has been teaching those high intensity classes for the last at least 6 years, and she was teaching Zumba before that.
Okay. So your testimony is that you met Tammy in the spring of 2018. And ironically enough, that was exactly the time she started these high intensity dance classes at the same time, right? And that's how you became such fast friends, right?
No, I became friends before that at school.
Okay. With Tammy at school?
Mhm.
She wasn't working there.
Well, shortly after she started working there, obviously we became friends.
Okay. And she started working there in the fall of 2018 as the full-time librarian, didn't she?
Yes.
Okay. So isn't it true, ma'am, that the high intensity classes started in September of 2019?
that they started in 2019? No, no, she had been attending for at least 9 months prior to that.
Okay.
Actually, it was more like a year and a half because she had started, I remember she'd started in the spring because her and her daughter had expressed that they wanted to get in shape for a 5K. And
Okay.
so some of my coworkers said, well, you should come to High Fit and
Okay.
that will help you get in shape. And that would have been in the spring. So she did it that spring and then that fall, then the following spring.
Okay. So in the spring of 2008, when you first met her, basically what happened in the very first spring when you were interviewing her, she signs up for High Fitness. She decides she's going to do a 5K. She's going to do all of these
No,
things. as-
no,
Let
we
me
hired
finish
her.
My question,
Well,
please.
Mr. Pryor, problem is it's argumentative, so just ask your question, please.
I didn't hear an objection from the prosecutor judge.
I know, but in fairness, it's in the long line of argument that she started responding. So just please go with questioning on cross.
And you would agree with me that Emma was there for all of the times that Tammy was involved in that class. Would that be fair?
I believe so.
Okay, so Emma was standing next to her the entire time, right?
They worked out next to each other.
Okay. And did you watch Tammy the entire time that you participated in these high intensity exercises?
Off and on. I mean, you're always looking around, seeing, what everybody else is doing, if they're following the instructor.
And how many participants were in these high intensity exercise classes?
Uh, It would depend. There could be as few as 15, as many as upwards of 24 to 30, depending on the night.
Do you know Kelsie Harris?
Yes,
Okay, friend of yours?
no. Well, coworker, colleague,
Okay, you don't go to any classes with her, right?
no.
Okay. So how would you evaluate, if you were to make a determination, would you say that Tammy Daybell was very fit?
Yes,
So she had a low body fat, she had a petite figure, is that what you're telling me?
you don't have to have a low body fat or a petite figure to be highly fit, but what I observed is that she had the stamina from the time she started to the fall that she passed. She had the stamina to be able to complete those rigorous
Okay,
workouts.
okay. Judge, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Redirect, Mr. Wixom.
No, Your Honor, we would excuse the witness.
All right, that concludes your testimony. Thank you very much for appearing today. Release from any subpoena.